Hey man, what do you think of my drawing? What, that one over there? Yeah, pretty cool, right? It's, no, it's not. It's not good. I kinda hate it. Oh yeah? Well, maybe it's worth a second look. All right. Okay, I looked again. It still sucks. You suck. Hey there, how's it going? I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. Sometimes in life we experience things and move on. Like when you buy a Costco-sized box of some sort of snack cake that you thought you'd like but you got bored of, so you just threw it away because it took up too much space in your cupboard. The same thing is true for lots of things in life. Exercise equipment, TV shows, retro handhelds, nutrition supplements. We buy the thing, we try it, we have our fun, and then when we're done, we're done. And we move on with our lives and we don't think too much about the dog that we thought we wanted but ended up leaving on the side of the road. Nothing wrong with it, we can't love everything. Sometimes our hearts just aren't big enough for every handheld or snack cake or dog that we think we want but end up not giving a crap about. But sometimes, every now and then, we move on from something a bit too hastily. That happens all the time. Sometimes a thing comes along, it's almost immediately forgotten, and then later everyone realizes that it was actually pretty great and it gets a second chance at life. I mean, not the dog. The dog is dead. You monster. But handhelds are one of those things. Recently, I was cleaning up my doodad shelves, and I kept coming across doodads that I was like, oh yeah, this one, I forgot about that. A ton of them that just don't get talked about much these days. And I blame you for that. Why aren't you talking about these more? So if you're not going to make sure everyone knows that these handhelds are worth playing with, I guess I got to do it. Today we're looking at a bunch of handhelds that I think deserve a second look. Handhelds that were generally well liked but don't get talked about anymore. Maybe if you're in the market for something specific, one of these will be a good choice. Or if you have one of these collecting dust on your shelf, maybe you need a reminder to grab it more often. Or maybe you're just here for my art, in which case, I feel bad for you. Starting off with the handheld that inspired me to make this video, the RG Arc. I've reviewed this before. Actually, I've reviewed all of these except for one, and I'm going to link to all my videos in the thingy below if you want to know more about any of them. The RG Arc is so cool. I get a lot of comments about this handheld in all sorts of videos. It feels like it's got a very passionate cult following. I can understand why it didn't get much love. It's a bit of a weirder handheld. It has an unconventional, different sized 6-button layout, a rolling D-pad with no thumbstick, and a boomerang shape. But I can also easily understand why those who love it so much. It's one of the few handhelds that has 6 buttons, and that with the rolling circular D-pad means that this is an incredible fighting game handheld. Also, it's got Sega Game Gear and Sega Genesis vibes, and lots of people have nostalgia for those systems. And it's a great all-arounder. It has a nice big 4:3 ratio screen, it's big and comfy, it has the bells and whistles you need like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and HDMI, and you can install custom firmware on this. I gotta say, once I installed Rocknix on here, I instantly liked it a lot more. If you're one of the RG Arc stans, feel free to gush about this thing in the comments. We gotta spread the word about why this thing is so cool. The RG505 is one of the oldest handhelds on this list. This thing came out in 2022, which is basically medieval times in internet years. I got this to review and I actually never made a video about it. I kind of half made a video, but I lost some footage and I never went back to finish. Actually, LitNXT sent this to me and I always felt bad that I never made a video. So if you want this or most of the handhelds in this video actually, then LitNXT is a great store. And sorry, LitNXT, that I never reviewed this one. Anyways, this thing is a bit unconventional when it came out, which is why most people passed it by, but it has a few things going for it that make it kind of special. It has a 5-inch OLED screen, and this is back before OLED screens were commonplace. I think this was actually the first handheld that I had with an OLED screen. And this screen has a resolution that is pixel perfect for PSP. I think this is actually like an upgrade PS Vita screen or something. Like there's the OLED screen you buy if you want to upgrade your PS Vita. And we have enough power in here to run PSP perfectly, even upscaled. So even today, this handheld is actually the best handheld for PSP. It runs other stuff too though. I mean, it's a good all-arounder, but PSP is where it's at with this thing. If you love PSP and you want a dedicated PSP handheld, this is an amazing choice. Next up, I want to give some love to the RG28XX, also known as the Zazzbitty. Of all the XX devices made by Amberlic, this one feels like the least popular, and I get why it's not for everyone. It's small, which means small screen. 2.8 inches isn't very big. That's the same size as the Miu Mini, and I've heard many people say that the Miu Mini is too small for them to enjoy. And the controls on this are also kinda weirdly small. However, let me put your fears to rest. These little controls are actually super comfy. I love using this. And the device itself is totally fine to use. I have zero issues gaming on it. I like it actually. And it's so cute. Look at this little guy. It is a tiny, super pocket-friendly doodad. Basically a Miu Mini for people who prefer horizontal handhelds. And for a small doodad, this thing is pretty powerful. You won't find many handhelds with a 2.8-inch screen that can play Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast and PSP. And you can even install Newly on this thing, which is my favorite custom OS for retro doodads. Every time I grab my Zazzbitty, I think to myself, I should make a point to show this off again in some sort of video. I guess this is that video. And next up, we have another small doodad. The MagicX XU Mini M was the first slam dunk home run touchdown of a sports reference handheld by MagicX. In my opinion, this was the first doodad that put them on the map. Like the Zazzbitty, this one has a 2.8-inch screen, but this thing feels like a different, very different device from the Zazzbitty. This one has thumbsticks and more full-size controls and a bigger body, so it feels more like a medium-sized handheld rather than a bitty one. This thing has a few things going for it. The sticks are amazing. Like, I love these sticks. They have a great stick cap, my favorite stick cap shape, and they are just recessed enough that it gives them a great range of movement while keeping the device slim and pocket friendly. This system out of the box is pretty basic, but it gets the job done. However, you can install Rocknicks on here, and that makes it just so much more feature rich. This thing can also run a good amount of Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast and PSP. And it's always so cool to see high-end stuff running on a little guy. But everything is lovely on here, all the old retro stuff. And it's orange, which always gets my juices flowing. Okay, this one, I feel genuinely bad that I haven't given more love because this thing is like one of my favorite underdogs. And maybe it's my fault that it's an underdog because I haven't sung its praises enough. Let's fix that now. This is the Powkiddy V10, and it's a cute, interesting, fun little doodad that is great for all sorts of stuff, but it is amazing for my favorite retro system to emulate, Game Boy Advance. This is probably the best budget GBA device that you can get. I mean, of course, you can play Nintendo and Super Nintendo and even some PS1 and Nintendo 64 stuff on it, like most retro doodads these days, but GBA is the main reason to get this. The screen on here is what makes it so good for GBA. It's pixel perfect 2x GBA integer scaling, which means that you'll get perfectly crispy looking GBA games without any imbalanced pixels. And because it's upscaled, you can use an LCD shader to make it look more authentic, and that will be properly scaled too. Also, look at this thing. It's genuinely unique looking and it's retro as heck. This looks like an actual piece of retro tech from the 80s. For the price, this thing is a champ and it deserves to be on your radar. And the next handheld is the subscribe to TechDweeb X. It's a new handheld. Nobody knows about it except you. So just remember that one. Subscribe to TechDweeb X. It's really, really great. The RG476H is not old and dusty. This thing came out just a few months ago and it's not like ignored or anything. I know lots of reviewers had good things to say about it and lots of people got it and enjoy it. I do see people talking about it, but it is way less popular than lots of handhelds in its kinda weight class, and it deserves a lot more attention than it gets, in my opinion, which is correct. This thing uses Amberlic's second most powerful chip, the T820, so it's not as powerful as the RG477M or the new RG477V, but here's the thing, the power isn't held back by anything that you'll be playing on here. This is a 4x3 handheld and you can play the vast majority of the 4x3 games, including GameCube and PS2. So don't write it off because it's not the most powerful that there is. It has plenty of power and everything else about this thing is so good. I love the flat, simple, clean design. It's the perfect size and thickness to be comfy while still being pocket friendly. I love that Amberlic always does a retro Game Boy colorway. This thing looks amazing. And the screen is the best part. 4.7 inches, which is huge, that's what she said, and 120 Hz refresh rate, and 960p resolution, so everything looks super crisp, and enough power to run some impressive shaders. If you're looking for a retro handheld that is just an amazing retro handheld, something only a true retro gamer would appreciate, then this thing is definitely worth considering. It's one of my favorite devices right now. This is a list of handhelds that deserve a second look, which implies that they didn't get the first look that they deserve. And I think of all the handhelds that I've shown you today, the MagicX Zero 40 is the one that most deserves being overlooked. I can understand why most people didn't think much about it. This thing is weird. It's a weird shape. I mean, just look at it. This kind of big flat slab. The corners at the bottom are a different radius from up top, and how the screen protrudes from the top and bottom. And the screen is vertical. That's not common. No. That's weird, right? Only weirdos would want a game on this, right? Well, that's true if you consider gamers who love Tate arcade games and Nintendo DS to be weird. And maybe you're right. Maybe we are. But even us weirdos deserve a handheld that suits our needs. This thing is an amazing Tate mode handheld. The best, actually. It's the best Tate handheld that there is. It feels like it was made for Tate arcade games. Because it was. But it's also an amazing Nintendo DS. I will warn you that even though the screen is vertically big, DS games are a bit smaller horizontally. So if you like big doodads, this probably won't be your favorite way to play DS. But I love it for DS. I think it's amazing, and I actually prefer playing most DS games on here compared to even dual screen doodads, just because having the screens stacked in this more tight configuration feels better to me. Overall, I just love weird handhelds that aren't terrible. And this one's actually really good. Just don't get it to play PSP. That's too weird. This one, I know is not some sort of hidden gem or anything. Everyone knows about the Retroid Pocket Classic. However, I feel like it's undervalued considering the price. This thing is $100 for the base model, plus shipping. But still, $100-ish for what amounts to the best budget vertical Game Boy doodad that you can get. This thing is like the budget version of the Ioneo DMG, which is one of my favorite handhelds ever. You get most of what made the DMG great here. You get the vertical form factor, great controls, a cool retro aesthetic, and of course the lovely OLED screen that is so good for Game Boy. But not just Game Boy, other stuff too. I think lots of people consider this a Game Boy only handheld, but if you're into Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and I'm pretty darn sure that lots of people are into those, this screen is it's also ideal for those because those are 8x7 systems. And you can play all the other stuff. All the 4x3 stuff is great. Even GBA is totally playable and enjoyable. The 16x9 stuff is a bit of a stretch. I wouldn't get this to play lots of PSP, for instance, but yeah, you can on here if you want to. Oh, and we do have enough power to play some GameCube and PS2. And there's even a little trick with GameCube. You can apply the widescreen hack, which actually hacks it into a narrow screen. So you can play GameCube games at this screen's native resolution, using the whole screen without stretching. Watch my video review if you want to know what to expect, but yeah, you get a ton of stuff on an amazing OLED screen for $100-ish. This might be one of the best bang for the buck handhelds that you can get right now. I am so into the Cube XX, it hurts. Not like hurts my brain and makes my nose bleed like that other Cube. No, the Cube XX just rocks my freaking world. I'm nuts about this thing for a few reasons. I love the retro vibes, how it looks and feels like an actual old piece of tech. I love the curvy ergonomics. This is super comfy to hold. The D-pad is a rolling style circular D-pad and it's amazing. Great buttons. The screen is probably the star of the show. It's a square 720 by 720 screen, which is amazing for Game Boy, Game Boy Color, even NES and Super Nintendo because they're 8x7. And this is my favorite device for Pico 8, which is one of my favorite systems to emulate. You can run native Pico 8 on here too. I have newly installed, which is the best custom OS, and you get native Pico 8 support. So that with the square screen makes this thing a Pico 8 powerhouse. I can see why not everyone's into this though. It's a bit weird. Square screens are kind of a niche ratio. Even though it plays 4x3 stuff great, lots of people don't like wasting screen space. And of course, you have to sell your soul to the dark cube that lives in your basement that siphons off your life force into the black void of space, leaving you a husk of your former self and completely under its control. But I'd say that's a fair trade-off to play Alpine Alpaca on the perfect Pico 8 doodad. And last but not least, actually last but best I think, considering the topic of the video, is your phone. I think it's easy when you're into retro doodads to think that you need to buy something new to satisfy your retro game needs. And I think lots of us forget that actually we don't need to buy anything. We can just use our phone. I made a whole video about this and it's one of my most popular videos. So the audience obviously agrees that just using your phone is an amazing choice. So like, why don't we, here in the retro handhelds community, talk about this more? Phones are amazing magical pieces of tech that do everything. They're like the modern Swiss Army knife that can do all the techie things we need, including retro games. You can play the games without a controller right on the screen. And it feels weird at first, but trust me, the more you do it, the less weird it feels. And of course, you can slap on a controller, like a telescopic controller or even one of these newfangled snap-on controllers. I've been testing this Bixieloot M4. This thing is like a little MagSafe controller and it actually works pretty darn good. Or plug your phone into your TV and use it like a console. I'm confident in saying that phones are the most underrated retro handheld. And I vow to change that as much as I can. You can expect new phone emulation videos from me soon. Make my words. And that's it. That's all I have to say. 10 handhelds that I think don't get the love they deserve, and we should give them a second look. And a third. And maybe a fourth, depending on the day. But not a fifth. No handheld deserves 5 looks. Except one. But I'm sure you have ideas of your own, so let's hear it. Which handhelds are the unsung heroes in your life? Which ones do you think get unfairly ignored? Give your favorite lesser-known doodad a shout-out in the comments below. And while you're down there, click the thumbs up button if you liked the video, or don't if you didn't. That'll do it from me for today. I'm TechDweeb, thanks for watching, bye-bye.